This is another Eyewitness News election update. I'm Mike Marza. Election day is now less than a month away, and with only 2 gubernatorial races across the country, all eyes are on the state of New Jersey, where Democrat Mikey Cheryl and Republican Jack Ciattarelli are locked in this tight race. On Wednesday, the two will be squaring off in their final debate, which will air on Channel 7 and will stream at ABC-7NY. To get ready, we're taking a closer look at the candidates and their platforms. So today we focus on the Navy helicopter pilot who is now looking to trade her congressional office in Washington for a seat in the State House in Trenton. New Jersey reporter Anthony Johnson has more on Mikey Cheryl and her campaign.
Following her primary night victory, Mikey Cheryl focusing on being visible in all 21 counties of the state from Gloucester to Bergen. It's been a whirlwind campaign.
I'm Erin. Nice to meet you.
The 53-year-old mother of 4 says making New Jersey affordable will be her prime goal if elected governor, as prices of food, electric, and many essentials continue to rise. She takes issue with GOP candidate Jack Ciattarelli, claiming he sides with the president when it comes to the economy.
Again and again, I think voters are seeing Trump is costing them an incredible amount of money. And every time they go to Jack to say, what are you going to do about it? His response largely is, I agree with it.
Her latest focus is online bullying and pushing a ban on cell phones in classrooms. This is something she plans to tackle if she's elected governor.
What should schools be doing? Because right now they're not doing enough. They're handing out computers like they're candy, and they're putting no safety protections on them.
The Congresswoman from New Jersey's 11th District continues to deal with the release of her military records, which shows she failed to report a cheating scandal and did not walk with her class. Most recently, she's taking issue with the president over the government shutdown and his move to suspend federal funding for the Gateway Tunnel project, accusing her opponent of saying it's not important.
It's despicable that the President of the United States is costing us so much money and attacking our economy. And it's despicable that Jack Ciattarelli is going right along with it.
Democrats turned out in big numbers for the primary, and she hopes the threat of a GOP takeover in the state will motivate her supporters to get out and vote.
We are working to take that enthusiasm and ensure that every single person gets to the polls.
In Union, New Jersey, Anthony Johnson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Joining me now is Micah Rasmussen, director of the Rebovich Institute for NJ Politics at Rider University. Micah, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mike.
So as Anthony was talking about, this race really has tightened, especially in the last couple of weeks. A lot of negative advertising on both sides. What will be the key as we close in now about a month away from Election Day? What do both campaigns have to do in order to secure the spot?
Well, because it's so tight, we are really in a situation where both campaigns are trying to fight over who can win over more of these last 10% of undecided voters that are out there. Who can get more of those people to their side? So we're still in a situation where there's some persuasion going on. We're also in a situation where they're trying to drive out their own vote at the same time. So they're doing a little bit of get out the vote, they're doing a lot of persuasion, and they're trying to see who can shift the balance in their favor.
And this race is closely watched, and what's interesting is there was a Politico article out yesterday that talked about Pennsylvania's influence on this race. Obviously, it's a neighboring state to New Jersey, but it's also a microcosm, perhaps, of the country where you have a young, up-and-coming, moderate Democrat who is now really trying to influence what's happening in New Jersey. How do you think that's going to play out when voters head to the polls?
Well, it's interesting because half of our state is in the Philadelphia media market, so they see a lot of Governor Shapiro. And you're right that he is a moderate, and he's somebody that Mikey Cheryl sees something in common with. She has been successful, I think, in shirking off the left label, and she's trying to stake out that moderate middle ground. One of the things that I find interesting about the race, though, is that we're spending a lot of time talking about things outside of the state, whether it's Pennsylvania or what's going on in Washington.
Or even in New York City, because Zohran Mamdani is leading the way here, at least in the recent polling. And you have, these candidates across the country, whether it be Chuck Schumer or you have Hakeem Jeffries, who have resisted outright endorsing Mamdani. And then you have Mikey Cheryl, who's trying to run down the middle. You even had Jack Ciattarelli praising some of the things that Josh Shapiro is doing. But let's talk about President Trump's influence, because not only is it playing a role here in New York City politics, but certainly in this New Jersey gubernatorial race, where you have Jack Ciattarelli, who, President Trump has endorsed Jack Ciattarelli and at one point said that he's MAGA all the way, although Jack Ciattarelli, it'd be interesting because when he has this debate here on Channel 7 on Wednesday, certainly he's going to be asked whether or not he identifies himself as being part of the MAGA movement. How does he ride that line? And you even have Mikey Cheryl, who has put out an ad saying he 100% is MAGA. How has he tried to toe that line, Ciattarelli?
Well, so far he has tried to ride the line by not really offering any distance between himself and President Trump. Even on the showdown, even on the Gateway Tunnel, he is not saying that that is a problem for New Jersey, that that's something he disagrees with the president on. He's not offering any daylight between himself and the White House. And of course, up until now, as you say, Mikey Cheryl has tried to make the race about Trump and his relationship with Ciattarelli. But just in the last week or 10 days, he's had two very specific ways in which there's New Jersey harms that are caused by what's going on with the White House and the government shutdown, whether it's the Gateway Tunnel or it's this leak of her personnel records from her time in the military. So I think this has driven the point home very specifically to New Jersey and away from a more generic attack on Trump.
Yeah, just a couple of more. I mean, you talked about Mikey Cheryl and some of the criticism she's faced, and I don't want to say scandal, but certainly a speed bump in her road to a possible victory. How has she been able to navigate that? And perhaps the way she's been able to handle that, is that one of the reasons why this race has gotten tighter, do you believe?
Well, I think she, so far at least, and we don't have a lot of post-polling to be able to tell this for sure. We have a few polls from the end of last week that suggest that there's sort of an 8-point difference between herself and Ciattarelli. So maybe she's weathering this controversy very well. But of course, we don't want to put too much stock in one poll or in two polls. She has answered it by saying, this is not about what happened in Annapolis. This is about the improper release of her military records. And there's some evidence that that's successful for her, because a lot of the stories that have been out there covering this controversy have been about the improper release of her records. So I would say that she's gotten maybe the better of at least the public stories that have been out there. It's a different question on whether or not the ads are going to hurt.
Yeah, the negative advertising from Ciattarelli to Mikey Cheryl really has been relentless. You talk about the one where she was asked to name a piece of legislation and she stumbled there, and voters saw that over and over again. Some of the internal polling also shows the race a little bit closer than that, 8 points, according to some of the reporting. But let's finish up with this because I'm interested to hear your thoughts, not only as a former pollster, but as somebody who analyzes these types of races. Jack Ciattarelli wins the governorship of New Jersey if blank. Fill in that blank for me.
Oh, boy. Let's see. If voters are focused less on what's going on in Washington and not focused on Trump, and if they're focused on the idea that no party in New Jersey has had a third term consecutively for the governor's race since 1965.
Interesting. And then the flip side, Mikey Cheryl wins if she blanks.
If people are focused on the shutdown, they're focused on Trump, they're looking for some balance since last year's presidential election. If New Jersey is the first midterm state, then I think Ciattarelli could be in trouble.
We'll be watching it very closely. Looking forward to the debate, too, right here on Channel 7. That's Wednesday. Micah Rasmussen, appreciate your perspective and great to have you on.
You too. Thank you.
So here is the schedule for Wednesday, Debate Day. Our coverage kicks off at 6:30. Sade and I will be streaming at ABC7NY with a special countdown to the debate, a preparation, what you can expect to see when these two face off. 7 o'clock is the debate, co-moderated by Bill Ritter. It will air again on Channel 7. And then following the debate, we'll be back with analysis and reaction of what happens in New Jersey. Tomorrow, we take a closer look at Republican Jack Ciattarelli's plans for the state. I'm Mike Marza. As always, you can get the latest right here at ABC7NY. Have a great day.